Last night, Klay was held out of Game 3 with that hamstring injury. However, he was still the target of Drake's trolling. I almost said Tarjay, Nick. After the Raptors win, Drake posted this picture of Klay on the gram with the caption, "Stay golden, my friends. Good night." All right, Nick, what's the deal?
Well, I mean, it's Klay, as he's wont to do, enjoying himself. I mean, he looked
I didn't know. I thought I was missing something.
No,
So did
that's just, listen, man. Clay's a single guy living his life, and I don't know if he has a girlfriend right now or not, but he was certainly at one point in his Warriors tenure, very publicly single, would enjoy himself. He had some nice, interesting young ladies.
So there was
with
nothing.
him.
That was a real picture. It was not Photoshopped.
So that was a real picture of Klay.
No, he's got real women in his life. Yeah, I'm
Klay
sure
looking
of that.
a little sleepy. Now, I don't think he was really sleepy,
I
but
see
his
what you're
eyes
saying.
seemed to indicate something. I don't know. Clay's just living his life, man.
Clay's gonna
doing
go
the
jump
Bill
in the
Walton thing.
Pacific Ocean and be ready for game number
Let me
4.
see. Let me look. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. It's just
I
Klay
gotta
hanging
tell
out.
you, Klay,
Klay
looks
hanging
good.
out. Yeah,
Good,
of
looks
course.
happy.
Listen, Klay, he should be.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't happy about last night.
Not happy about last night,
Snapped
Nick.
his 120 consecutive playoff game streak. That's over. Got to start a new one. Starting tomorrow night, which he will play in. But the game last night, we should probably start talking about right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Back to the actual game. The Raptors took a 2-1 series lead
I
after
don't know how my life ended up that I ended up with
beating
y'all.
every decision you ever made, Nick, CC. After beating the depleted Warriors squad, Klay Thompson, as we just mentioned, did not play. Steph dropped 47, second most ever in a finals loss. Kawhi Leonard led the way for the Raptors with 30, and all of Toronto's starters scored at least 17 points in this big momentum shift for Toronto now. Here's Kyle Lowry after the game.
You lose an all-NBA type basketball player in Klay and an all-star. It definitely, it changes their team. But, I mean, Steph had an unbelievable game. 47 points is pretty impressive. But, we just went out there and did our job.
We went out there and played hard and we lost. We didn't go in this game thinking we're not going to play Klay or Kevin or Loon or anybody else, and we're just going to get this game away. They played well. They knocked down, I think, 17 threes. You got to give them credit. But we didn't sacrifice. You don't sacrifice a finals game to be healthy for the next one, because anything can happen.
We're going to compete no matter what happens. You can count on that. So just got to execute and play smarter. And no matter who's out there on the floor, do what you got to do to win.
No one cared that guys are hurt. Everybody want to see us lose. So I'm sure people are happy they're hurt. We just got to continue to battle and win the next game, go back to Toronto, win Game 5, come back to Oracle, win Game 6, and then celebrate. Fun times ahead.
Doesn't that remind you, remember when Aaron Rodgers got up at the podium and he laid out after they had lost a couple games, we're going to win this, we're going to beat Atlanta, we got to go there, and then we'll come back and we'll win it, and all of a sudden we'll be in the playoffs. It sounded a little bit like that. It was a pipe dream for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it'll be a pipe dream for Draymond Green. Nick, what was Game 3 more about what the Raptors did well, or was it that Steph really didn't get much help around him?
To me, there are two dominant storylines. One is not the lack of help around Steph. It is what Steph did, and we will get to that and give Steph his due because he was spectacular. But the other storyline is Toronto having as good of an all-around finals game as you will ever see. 7 guys played significant, or 7 guys took shots for them last night. 7 guys played significant minutes. All 7 of them. 50% or better from the field. I've never seen that. Everyone that shoots for your team has a good night shooting. All 5 of your starters, at least 17 points. Not all 5 in double figures, all 5 damn near 20 points. Kawhi obviously was the most consistent of the Raptors, but Kyle Lowry had a wonderful bounce back game after a really tough game 2. And what to me was most impressive about Toronto, not only did they win every quarter, but every segment of every quarter when the Warriors were trying to punch their way out of it, because the Warriors fell down double digits almost instantly. And there were various times in the game. Into the first quarter, Steph comes down, hits a huge 3, I think for his 17th point of the quarter. And Danny Green answers at the buzzer at the end of the first to get a 3 of his own. There was, I think, a sneaky important sequence in the third quarter when the crowd was in full throat expecting that Warriors run. I just want to show it to the audience real quick. It's a 7-point game. The Warriors have a chance to cut it to 5. Boogie has a layup. Oh, he misses it. So now instead of 5, it's still 7. Next time down the court, Kawhi Leonard steps into that diagonal 3. Now it's 10. Those are stomach punch moments, and the Raptors had those repeatedly in the second half. The Warriors cut it to 7 a bunch. The Raptors wouldn't let them get closer, and it was a Kawhi 3, or Serge Ibaka making a big play, or Danny Green hitting a 3. It was truly a team effort against a one-man show in Steph Curry.
Toronto played the type of basketball that we've only seen this a few times during the season. You talk about all their starters with the types of points that they had. Scored 106 of their 123. They've done this 6 other times during the regular season. All other 6 times, they've won those games. So if they're able to get not that type of productivity, but if we get Kyle Lowry, and it's important that he scores, but it's more importantly that he shoots the ball from deep at a decent rate, because it stretches the defense and it opens up things for Kawhi. So we've seen last night, I thought you did a great job of mentioning they won all 4 quarters last night. So now it leads us, we played 12 quarters of basketball. Not a small sample size. 12 quarters of basketball have been played, 3 games. Toronto Raptors have won 10 of those quarters. The only quarters they've been outscored in is those miraculous third quarters. Steve Kerr, when they come out, game number 1, they make adjustments. Game number 1, game number 2 in the third quarter, only ones. The Raptors have won every other quarter, so we shouldn't be surprised that they would be ahead.
And what was the adjustment Nick Nurse made to make sure that trend didn't continue in this game with the Warriors winning the third quarter? He made a change that you picked up on that ended up being a huge one.
And Danny Green came out in the game. They're trying to get him hot. He scores 9 points in the first quarter, so they got him back on track. In the second half, with Steph Curry on fire, he had 25 at halftime. Fred VanVleet, we're going to start him in the third quarter. I'm going to put a veteran guy who has, man, he scored 27 3-pointers in the finals against LeBron and them. So he has finals experience. He's been a rock around. He's a great defender. They go to him at halftime and say, you know something, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to come off the bench in the third quarter after being a starter all year. He comes off the bench and gives them a very good 9 points in 5 minutes. But Fred VanVleet stabilizes it, keeps Curry in check. And that was the difference in the game, and they end up winning this quarter. And that right there, I believe, to be able to stop that comeback where Kawhi was dominant.
In that third quarter, 2 guys played the full quarter for Toronto. Fred VanVleet, who, like you said, they made the adjustment, and Kawhi, who had his biggest quarter of the game. Half of his points in the game came in that third quarter, which, again, kept the Warriors at bay. And there were multiple times, man, Oracle was roaring like they were ahead whenever they got it to single digits. When you get it to 7, you're one sequence away from the other team being like, hold on, we're up 1 possession, we're up 2. The Raptors never let them get a possession away from being a possession away when then all of the pressure would have shifted to them.
Okay, but the story last night, despite the loss, was Steph Curry and what he was able to do when called into action because Klay was out and KD was out. How impressive was Steph last night?
He was sensational. He really was. And you could see from the beginning, he had an electric first quarter, but you could see the pace that he was playing at. You're like, is he going to be able to maintain this? And I thought that he would be exhausted, and there was a chance he'd be able to lead them to a win. But he was sensational at every level, dribbling the basketball, being able to get into the paint, kick the ball out, moving without the basketball. Last night, if there's a tape that you want to prove to people that Steph Curry, he's not the greatest shooter, well, why would you show last night? Because if you watch him off the dribble, he's the best shooter in the NBA. If you watch him if he's coming off a screen, best in the NBA. Let's go a pin down. Put him on the baseline, have someone come down, set a pick for him. He's the best in the NBA, and from deep. I'm talking about 28 to 35 feet. He's the best shooter ever. You were able to see that last night in the guts that he was able to play with. People like Steph Curry, I believe that sometimes they can be underrated because people don't look at him and think of toughness. Man, you got to be a tough guy to be able to do that last night. 1 of 1 in NBA history. 45, 5, and 5. 5 3-pointers, never been done in NBA history. That speaks to what his performance was.
First time anyone's ever done that in the finals. And the other element is A lot of sports arguments or sports debates are hypotheticals that are unprovable. What would it have been like if Jordan's Bulls ever had to go up against a dominant center in the NBA Finals? What would it have looked there? What if instead of the Cavs winning that lottery, remember Memphis could have had it, and then they, instead of losing that pick, they would have gotten, there's LeBron instead of the Darko pick, all these things, right? What would Steph Curry be like if he didn't have the great players around him? What would Steph Curry be like in a different system? We got a glimpse of it last night, and it was spectacular. It was, okay, I might be one of the smallest guys on the court. You guys might want to pick on me defensively. Okay, guess what? I'm still going to drop bombs on you. He led the Warriors in points. He led the Warriors in rebounds. He led the Warriors in assists, in steals, and minutes. The only reason this was not a blowout was because of Steph Curry's individual brilliance. Going into the game, I said Steph and Draymond, for them to have a chance, would have to combine for 60, 15, and 10. They combined for 64, 15, and 12, not because Draymond had a great game.
Because he gave you 47, Steph. Because
Steph gave you 47, wow. 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And there weren't a bunch of assists to go around because other guys weren't hitting shots. And he did it while having to defend his position at a level he doesn't always have to because Klay's not out there. It was, for the first time, and people will criticize me for bringing it up, but no one could watch that game last night and not at least have this occur to him. Steph Curry saw, for the first time in his career, what it was like to be LeBron these last 4 years going up against those Warriors, where in 2015, his teammates are injured. And LeBron in the game 1, 44-8-6. Game 5, 40-14-11. Game 6, 32-18-9.
Yeah, it's one of the few times in finals that you, before you tip it off, you'd be like, they got a lot more talent than we do.
Right, and all those games I just mentioned were losses. Remember at the end of game 1 last year in the overtime, Steph and Draymond, when the Warriors had taken control of the overtime, Steph and Draymond were joking with each other, laughing, and LeBron got real upset because he had done what Steph did last night, and it was squandered. We saw Steph have to play hero ball. First time in his career he's played in a playoff game without Klay Thompson. And he didn't rise to the occasion. He more than rose to the occasion. I think it's the best game Steph Curry's ever played. I know he lost. I know, Chris, you mentioned earlier he had 34 with 10 assists in a game to win a championship. But that game to win a championship, he had KD and Klay along with him. He did this as a solo act against a great defense in a game his team had a chance to almost steal because of how great he was.
At this point, we do not know whether KD will go in game 4. You don't think he will. We really also don't know about Klay, although he really wants to. Who has the edge in this series moving forward?
I'm going to go with Toronto. I think where their players are. Last night, Kawhi Leonard getting back on track, shooting a higher percentage. Last night, joining the class of very, very rare air as far as in playoff runs, guys that have scored 30 or more points, 13 or more times. He joins Hakeem, Shaq, LeBron did it twice. Michael Jordan did it 4 times. Kobe did it twice. Allen Iverson. So getting him back on track and him knowing that he's got some help. Klay, if he does come back, how effective as a defender is he going to be on Kawhi, which was effective in game number 2? So for me, they have to have a huge advantage, and they have the obvious home court advantage. So role players for Toronto get their groove back. I believe edge now goes to the Raptors, Nick.
Vegas says it's a coin flip. I was shocked when we saw that this morning, that the series price is even money on both teams. I'm still going to say Golden State has the slightest of edges. I would be shocked if Klay Thompson does not play in game 4. I believe he's going to play in game 4. And going into last night's game, particularly once we found out Klay was out, that was a must-win for Toronto.
Yes.
Toronto could not have lost last night's game, given that Klay was not playing, KD's not playing, Boogie obviously is limited. So Toronto won their must-win game. They are the closest they've been, but I still think the Warriors are the favorites in the series.
Much more on all this coming up right now on Undisputed. Have a great